The Dakota Access Pipeline is a project which is currently under construction by the Energy Transfer Partners with intentions of connecting an approximate 1,100-mile, 12 to 30-inch pipeline from the oil fields in North Dakota to the oil refineries in Illinois. What the pipeline creates is a greener alternative to the massive use of trucks and all other risks associated with hauling crude oil through the interstate highway systems. The other benefits consist of being able to transport a daily projection of 470,000 barrels of crude oil a day with a maximum of 570,000 barrels of crude oil a day. What this creates is an economic efficient option, making it more environmental friendly. The use of crude oil and oil pipelines has been allowing the United States to continuously pursue energy independence from the Middle East, and each pipeline or innovative shift is producing more and more progress towards that. The Dakota Access Pipeline falls into this category, but there is one major setback, in that this pipeline is going through the Standing Rock Sioux tribe's ancient burial grounds and the Sioux's drinking water. While the National Environmental Policy Act environmental assessment findings show no historical significant impact while they were conducting their research, the Dakota Access Pipeline began construction. And since the beginning of this construction, there has been massive opposition. In the NEPA EA documentation, the letters of concern show how professionals from a number of environmental sectors are worried about the Dakota Access Pipeline, and the Sioux have also been in opposition of this. The Sioux have taken to the courts and lost, and so they have begun to take matters into their own hands. While gaining national media attention from all sectors, they have gained support from a wide variety of people, including celebrities and other government officials. The main protest consists of civil disobedience or nonviolent protests, but this has quickly escalated, with more and more natives coming from all over the country to come help the Sioux. In order to continue this project, police have dressed in tactical uniforms with riot gear to push the natives back, and multiple attacks have come from both ends, which is currently creating an intractable conflict. The use of mediation will be used to remedy this conflict and create a negotiation that will benefit all parties. Regardless of the situation, both parties have a strong stance in their decision, and both need to be understood by the stakeholders, or by all stakeholders in the Dakota Access Pipeline project. The conflict going on in North Dakota is not something that has its roots in current times. The Sioux, along with all other Native Americans, have had conflict with European settlers since their very first interaction. What we know as colonialism is very different to what the natives view colonialism as. Civil disobedience by the natives is not something new either, and they currently are following the same tactics which rendered them a massive federal victory in the United States versus Washington case. The Washington is the state of Washington. In what is now known today as one of the largest accomplishments in Native American modern history, which is the Boldt decision, Judge George Boldt in 1974 gave fishing rights which were previously agreed upon during the times of westward expansion to the natives in the state of Washington. This was no short decision. This took years of sit-ins and protests and court cases for the natives to be given the rights to the salmon fisheries back. This also caused something called the Red Movement, which gained enough public attention, which is currently what is going on now, combined with Judge Boldt, to give the fishing rights back, but it created a whole national movement for natives in the country. So this is very similar to that type of movement, when it's showing similar trends as far as the progress that's being made. But for a successful mediation, there's going to be a number of tactics that have to be used. Lewicki shows the term intractability defined as a conflict that eludes resolution. Multiple cases in her book throughout her text explain thoroughly how characterization frames are developed and relationships diminish as time passes. So far, this has been going on for 2 years, and this is a case where both parties have enough power to reach this intractable conflict if mediation is not accomplished. Mayer describes mediation as an intervention of a third party to help disputants communicate with each other about the best methods to resolve a conflict. Simply put, mediation works, and under the correct circumstances, it makes a big difference. With the history of the Native Americans as a whole and European settlers, it is easy to think that a resolution is impossible, but that is not the case. As the Wheel of Conflict shows, history is not a determinant of a conflict, and that history should not shield conflicts at hand. Both parties still want the conflict to be resolved. The point of resolution is the key. In this case, the only way for a successful mediation is to bring the stakeholders to a mediation table where all parties are able to describe the problems at hand, with the actual listening parties being the decision makers. What this will portray is that the communication is getting through directly to the right people. Being an unbiased mediator will also allow for both parties to understand that no data is used in favor of either party. After parties describe their concerns, mediation will give a more detailed history and background of the dispute and the people involved in it. Mayer shows that mediators manage emotions and communication, which is also two more categories that this conflict fits into in the Wheel of Conflict. Mediation will be able to help both parties express their emotions and feelings in an appropriate manner. These two parties are socially different, and the level of education of the legal system may be seriously different if this is to go to court again. What this means is that big business, or ETP in this case, has more money and understands the legal process more and would benefit them more for going to court, especially considering they went through the whole NEPA process and no significant findings were found and construction was almost complete. The Sioux did not have the same benefit. Rarely will any industry have as much money as the oil and gas industry, so mediation will allow parties to express their feelings without getting hostile, even though emotions may be vented and put onto the table of discussion. The preferred end result is a full and final settlement of the dispute in question. Timing of the mediation is perfect. There is a current impasse where nobody will benefit. There's two different styles of conflict in this case, which are evaluative and facilitative. Evaluative mediation allows the mediator to gather all facts and then provides his or her evaluation of the opposition. This will need to be used to ensure clarity is dispersed to all parties, but facilitative mediation will also need to be used because a simple mediation seems unlikely. What this allows is for a mediator to find a settlement or a win-win solution. The tools that will be used are the Wheel of Conflict, which can explain the whole situation and provide details to each party. And then the evaluative and facilitative mediation styles will be used in a combination to come up with a win-win solution. The Dakota Access Pipeline may seem to be in control of the situation, but in the big picture, they have more to lose if this comes into pipeline purgatory. What this pipeline purgatory is saying is that there's enough momentum and enough power from the Sioux right now that they could put this into the court system and continually sit in court forever and ever until this thing just literally becomes to a standpoint and never gets completed. So they would benefit from working with the Sioux tribe, especially with the amount of attention they have right now. There are billions of dollars and thousands of jobs on the line, and ETP simply cannot afford to abandon or sit in courts forever. So they would benefit from this mediation as well. And obviously the Sioux would benefit because they would not have their drinking water contaminated, or at least be given more details as to how it wouldn't happen. The Sioux and other interested parties have a history of sitting and being successful, judging from the United States versus Washington case. They have shown that they are able to stand for what they believe in and be successful regardless of the likelihood. They will only gain more people and power until construction stops, and even though it may never be canceled, the recommended solution for this case would be simply to reroute the pipeline to not go through their waters. The Sioux are not going to go out of their way to be the Sioux are not going out of their way to be difficult. They are simply fighting for what is their cultural beliefs and which should never be threatened.